Welcome back to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning, visiting with Jim Molnar and Betty Meyer, both from PATHS, Partners Against Trafficking Humans, Stark. Interesting to know that PATHS works with a number of other organizations. Fascinating to know that we have so many organizations that must address this this problem in this day and age. What are some of the other organizations? And tell me about the consortium in general.
Well, it is called a consortium, and it's a group of people who represent organizations who are able to give aid to a victim of trafficking. And they can be called in at any time to help this person with whatever is in her life that she needs help with.
Now, PATHS itself, are you recruiting members, volunteers, and so forth?
Yes, we are, because we go out and speak in the community to educate the people in the community. And we're always recruiting members. We're recruiting members to do that. We're recruiting members to help hand out our literature at the fair or at First Friday or any other place we are invited to come and set up a table.
This could very well be really striking a chord with someone listening right now, saying, I really want to be involved with this and do something.
It could very well be.
How can they reach you? Best way?
We have a website, and Jim has it down pat.
Okay. Yeah. What is the website?
I have the address. The best way to get us is through the internet, and our website is, of course, www.path.stark.org. It's going through some revisions right now, so you can also reach us through Facebook, which of course would be the facebook.com/PathStark1, as in the number 1, not the word 1.
Okay. PathStark, numeral 1.
Right, numeral 1. And then also the email address itself would be pathstarkcounty@gmail.com.
Perfect. All right.
We do not have a phone number, so if somebody's interested in a program, they need to contact us through the email, tell us the name of their organization, their name, and give us a phone number. And then somebody will call them to set up a program for them.
Is it rare, or does this happen for someone who is being trafficked to make the initial call to try to get out, or is that very rare that someone would be trying to escape it?
I don't know the answer to that. However, there is a woman in Columbus who has a soap project, and she puts small bars of soap with little labels on them with the hotline number. And because very often if a man has a woman in his room, he will let her use the lavatory. There are no windows, she can't escape, and the soap will be in there, and hopefully she will get out in such a way that she can call that hotline number.
That is brilliant. What a brilliant idea.
Yeah, this woman has done a wonderful job with that, and we've done it a little bit, but not to the extent that she has.
Well, now you mentioned that you are treasurer, so you're handling the funds. We got some fundraisers coming up to maybe help out with some of these.
Now.
Well, how can anyone donate if they would just like to, out of the goodness of their heart?
They can do it through
the website. There's a place to give on the website?
I don't think so.
Email
No,
you?
it's really a grassroots effort,
Okay.
and it was originally put together
They can send it to Post Office Box 35701.
Repeat that, please.
Box 35701.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
And if they would like to make a donation.
And we will say again, you are not yet a 501c3.
No, we're not.
But working towards that.
That's correct.
But still, folks don't always want to give to take a tax credit. They sometimes just want to give because it's a worthy cause.
Right. And groups will give, too. You know, maybe a Sunday school class will take up a collection or something like that.
Great idea.
And then earmark it for PATHS.
Jim, what drew you to be involved with PATHS?
Well, actually, a long time ago, I'm originally from Sandusky, and we had a lot of vegetable farmers. And closer to probably around May, summer, they would have migrant workers come. And it was no more than 2 miles away that there was a farm. And I got to know a lot of these kids really well. And even though they were pleasant at school, they were up and moved. They would come at the end of the year in spring, and they would come and be there in fall, and then they'd up and move. They didn't make very many friends, and I always had my interest piqued because of that. And since then, I've gotten involved, of course, in CASA, and also any cause that really kids need a foundation today, and that foundation has to do too with the stability of where they're at.
Yeah. Betty, how about you?
Well, I went to a meeting in Indianapolis for the Presbyterian Church, and at this meeting they had many little sessions, and one was about human trafficking. And I had heard about it, but I didn't know much. And I went, and I was just amazed. I had no idea how prevalent it was. I had no idea the cities that were involved. At the time, I had family in Michigan, and I would go through Toledo every 3 or 4 months and had no idea what kind of city I was going through, that this is a real hotbed for trafficking. Atlanta is too. And again, as Jim mentioned, the sporting events, they bring the women in for it. And we wish they didn't, and we wish that the men wouldn't patronize these women. That's one way to stop it, but we know that probably will never happen. But I did get interested, and then I got to know the woman who did the presentation at the big event that I went to. And we brought them here to town a few years ago to do an event, and I got involved with this. I was at a meeting. Well, I was invited to a consortium meeting. And as I laughed, as I told you, I went in a guest and came out a member. And we said, to the lady that invited me, we said, not surprised. But I did. I got active in it, and I saw it for what it is.
Yeah.
And it's an awful thing.
You must have some good, positive stories to tell through your involvement with this.
I was a guardian, and I had a young woman who was fairly challenged. Not her functional level was not real high, but she did get to go to high school and the like. But there were also a lot of problems there with this girl. With her, she just really could not put on the brakes lots of times in different parts of her life, and I truly did worry that the boys would traffic her. I don't think they did, but I worried that they would because she was so vulnerable.
And that was another thing that drew you into this, to try and prevent. Prevention is key, isn't it?
Yeah.
How about you, Jim? You mentioned the getting to know the young men who were migrant workers. But do you have like some real positive stories of getting to do this kind of work?
Well, there's one woman that I actually heard speak who actually got involved in this because she had fallen in love with this young man, and who was about 10 years older than her, but at the time they were both young. And she thought she was like the Cinderella, and the queen, he called her. And come to find out that his mother owned like a brothel, and she ended up involved in it. But because she still had some self-esteem, she managed to get herself out of it with the help of a law enforcement officer who paid for her way back home from where she was. She started her life all over again. She's an inspirational speaker. And one thing I want to emphasize is that they're trapped not so much by doors and brick walls. They're trapped by location. They can't get home. Some of them don't even know where they're at. And because of this, to think that they're going to say, hey, I need a ride home, isn't something that you normally see. So rarely do you have someone come up to you. You have to open up your door or your hand or call the hotline again and start the process for that individual. Once the individual knows that you're a safe person, you're a safe harbor, then they'll start saying, yeah, this is something I want to get out of. But they're completely controlled by their traffickers.
And I think those, as I listen here and those others listening to you this morning, you feel so helpless, so very helpless. We know, okay, we can know the hotline number. We can be on the lookout for those signals that you were talking about. We can volunteer, go to the website and volunteer. we can go to the website and make contributions to help you out financially. Other than that, are there things that we can do to assist you, to help you? And if we were to volunteer, what kinds of things would we be doing? You say perhaps a speakers bureau?
Possibly, yes. But I would like to add to what Jim said about getting a ride. And this is a story of a young woman, and she was in central Ohio. And a fella that was in one of her classes offered her a ride home. And she knew him, and she accepted it. And she never got home.
Oh, my. And this was someone from her class?
Yes. So you just don't know.
Did anything happen to that young man?
I don't know the rest of the story. I just know that she went for her ride home, and she never got home.
You just really don't know, do you? You need to be very careful.
They eventually knew that she had been trafficked.
Oh.
He sold her.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, so often with the, as you mentioned, runaways, is that, I have heard that is only a fraction of the problem, that so often it is somebody that a person knows and trusts.
Yeah. In this case, it was. She thought she'd been in class with him every day for I don't know how long. She could go with him for a ride home.
And the traffickers themselves, it's the threats that they provide. I've heard stories about victims not even leaving their hometown simply because the trafficker is saying, I'm going to kill your family, I'm going to kill your dog.
Oh.
So they know that their family can still be around, but there's the threat of not only bodily harm to themselves, but also to their family. So a lot of this goes on in and around where we live, and we don't even know it. And they do get caught up into a situation, people that they do know, or a friend of a friend of a friend, and they get caught up in it that way.
Okay, wow. Talking with Jim Molnar, Betty Meyer, both from PATHS, that's Partners Against Trafficking Humans, Stark. And even though you're Stark, also Tuscarawas, Carroll, this whole surrounding area, those of our listeners, this is something to be watching for, is it not?
That's true. Very true.
Well, we certainly thank you for being with us. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. We're talking about not just modern-day slavery as far as the sex trade, but we're also talking about labor. And those are the two things. And we're not just talking about women, we're talking about men. Do you want to address that?
Well, the men part of it comes in with the labor, migrant workers. It could be servitude of some kind, whether it's a hotel or whether it's some kind of, the workers, like you said, we talked about the migrant workers, but the sex trafficking is the thing that gets all of the glamour
Most
and
of the
glitz
attention.
and most of the attention, where the labor trafficking is a lot of migrants. You don't see them. They're bused from one place to where they work and then home again.
Language barrier is also a problem for them because they can't get out because nobody understands them.
Oh, my. Okay.
Because
Please
they're brought in.
give the website one more time, please, before we close.
Okay, it's pathstark.org or facebook.com, pathstark, the numeral 1. And the email address is pathstarkcounty@gmail.com.
Betty Meyer, Jim Molnar, thank you so much for what you do for this situation and also in your service to our community. Thank you so much. We also want to thank Home Appliance, and thank you for listening this morning to our community.